Well, I can't speak for British theatre except by intuition, and I have to tell you, it feels bloody nice.
Just before we get on to the play,
Yeah.
You're looking very good for your age, but you are in your 80s, and
Yes.
obviously the pandemic hit us all. Has it made you reflect on your own mortality more?
It absolutely did, and continues to do that. I'm 84. I thought, 80 was okay as a number. 84 is absolutely appalling. I can't believe or imagine that I'm 84. And I would be very, very upset if it had turned out that 70 years and 10 was my portion. I don't feel, as I perhaps did a year ago, that I'm spent. In fact, I can feel the sap rising in me, and I wish I knew exactly what I want to write about.
But you feel there is a new play coming, do you?
Well, I feel it's a work ethic. I feel I have to. It's what I'm for.
We don't have to worry that this is your last play.
I don't have to worry about that, but I'll tell you, I wouldn't worry if it were.
But we would worry.
Ah, thank you. That's a very nice form of compliment.
Leopoldstadt begins in turn of the last century Vienna, at the home of a well-to-do Jewish family. They've assimilated, intermarried, and seem secure. By the time we leave them, Austria and they have experienced the convulsions of war and the horrors of the Holocaust.
Austria is officially innocent. The ecstatic multitudes who welcomed Hitler, innocent victims.
It feels, sadly, very topical. I mean, I was reading the paper only today. There's a story that British Jews are suffering the worst levels of hatred for decades.
Despite what happened in the war, one has to wonder whether there's been this permafrost covering up a quite fermenting kind of anti-Semitism, which other circumstances have brought into view. It may be that it's always been there in a suppressed way and is now relieved of its suppression. It's as though the internet has, as it were, enabled and brought into being a whole new layer of public and private discourse where people, because of their essential anonymity, if they wish to preserve it, are as it were, they can say everything and anything without fear of penalty. Anti-Semitism as a serious force in society has got some kind of relationship to whatever is happening in Palestine in any given year. And I don't pretend to be on top of these things. I'm aware of it, as everybody must be, but I'm not engaged with it.
You don't take it personally?
I don't take it personally, no.
And why do you think that is?
I think it's a character defect. I mean, I just want to be left alone to do my work.
Born Thomas Straussler to Jewish parents in what was then Czechoslovakia, Tom Stoppard came very late to knowing fully about his Jewish heritage. Brought to England via Singapore, where his father was killed, his mother remarried, and he only learnt in his 50s that all his grandparents and several aunts had been murdered in the Holocaust, a realisation that is mirrored in the play. What was that experience like for you? And putting it in the play is so, I don't know, it's pretty profound for all of us to see it.
I didn't feel that, I was revealing myself in any painful way. There's the famous sliver of ice, which is saying, yeah, this could be good as drama.
Summer or winter?
Summer, but not too hot.
Not raining?
Not a cloud in the sky.
But he could be wearing a bow tie.
Drama's been Tom Stoppard's life's work, from his first successes, the likes of Travesties, which was revived only recently.
Describe the play briefly, omitting all but essential detail.
Back in the day, You were criticised by others for not being a political playwright. The Royal
Yes.
Court said they wouldn't put your work on.
Yes.
I wondered whether you see yourself as one of the first victims of cancel culture, in a sense.
No, not at all. No. I think, curiously enough, the phrase cancel culture has to be invented before you can feel what it is. And of course, there was no such language then. But I certainly didn't. I wasn't even aware of it.
I suppose you signed the J.K. Rowling letter. You have stood up against it. So you feel that it's much worse now, obviously, than it ever was, once they invented that term.
50 years ago, it seemed to me that the freedom to say what you like within the constraints of the law of the land was the freedom on which all other freedoms depended.
Has that changed? Is that gone?
Yes.
Being eroded?
It appears to have been eroded to some degree, yes. People tread warily. They're careful of what they say. Look, even doing a Newsnight interview, you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, yes, I can see where this could be going. I'll just say one casual thing and I'm screwed for the rest of my life.
That's not our intention.
Of course not, no. In a certain perception, I'm way behind the curve as to what is sayable and what is thinkable. I believe in truth and falsehood. I don't understand how a society can operate without that any more than science can.
It feels like you've become more political as you've got older. I think you said you've become more left-wing as you've got older, which is unusual. That's not normally the way that things go. I know you came out as a Remainer, a Remain voter. And when it comes to Brexit and you personally, I wondered, quite a lot of people who are descended from people, whose countries are still in the EU, have applied for EU passports. I wonder whether you were thinking or had applied for a Czech passport.
That's very perceptive of you, or if you like, a sort of brilliant shot in the dark. It's something I didn't think about, but I'm now thinking about.
Because you want to be part of the EU still?
Oh, bless your heart. It's because I don't want to be stuck in immigration, trying to get in and out of the country in an endless queue. And there's a certain amount of, I actually wrote to a friend of mine in Prague and I said, this is not really sentimentality. There's a practical level, but actually, I don't think sentimentality is the right word, but that wasn't quite true. There is a growing feeling of just ending up truly trying to be a little bit more of what you were born.
Do you worry about the future of the European project? Do you feel that you look across Europe and actually authoritarianism is on the rise again?
It evidently is in certain parts of the world. The countries which were not going in that direction now have begun to go in that direction. But little by little, the Ladybird book of democracy, which is what you would want to tell a child, no longer fits the facts.
And you find that very worrying?
I find it depressing because I'm worried about my children and my grandchildren. In other words, I'm worried about the world to come. There's that Philip Larkin line, isn't there? Get out as early as you can. There's a rather bad feeling in me now. I've got some very good reasons for staying in, but there's this little voice of Larkin saying, get out as early as you can and don't have any kids yourself.